everyone, and welcome to my corner of the world. Today I'm sharing a fun fold. They're one of my favourite types of card to make, and we're going to be making this really dainty, pretty little thank you card, and it's a sidestep card, which basically means that you've got these steps with a piece to the side. And unlike the traditional ones where you have to cut slits in the card and do different score lines at different places, this is a very straightforward faux version of a sidestep card. So I'm going to pop that to one side and pull some supplies together. Now I am featuring today a bundle in the January to April mini catalogue for 2023, and that's the Sentimental Park, and we've got flowers, we've got lovely words, lots of greetings here, as well as some coordinating dies. And I'm gonna start off by stamping some of my pieces. Now I have 2 pieces of cardstock here, and they're exactly the same size, and they're 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. And my colours that I'm going to be using are Pear Pizzazz and Flirty Flamingo. Now I'm going to be stamping to the right hand side here, so that I've got one that kind of peeks out behind here, and then if we flip it over, have a piece on the back, and this is where you're going to write your message, to you, love from me. So I'm just going to stamp them up exactly the same, like this. And then the Flirty Flamingo, it's kind of a pinky orangey sort of colour, and there's this little blossom, and it's got where the little leaves, the petals sort of go in. I'm just going to line up the end of the stem with that petal like that. So those are those 2 pieces finished. I also, as you know, if you follow me, I love to do my envelopes. So I'm going to put my little flower again, like that. So those are my first few pieces of stamping. I've then also got another piece of card, and I believe this measures 4 by 2 3/4. Yes, and that's the little front panel that's going to go here. And I'm going to use this lovely little stamp that's in the set, and it's kind of like a crosshatch, and it's a perfect little sort of filler just to give the card a bit of interest. I'm just going to just gently need to get a little piece of paper here, pop some decorative pieces. I'm not going to do the middle here because I'm going to have my greeting panel that's going to go across like that. So that is part of my stamping, getting things ready. And then I'm going to move on to a little bit of die cutting. So the dies in this set are, some of them match up with the stamps. So this one will do the leaves I've just stamped, and there's a little one here. But then there's a lovely stem, and I've already cut that one out to use. And then there's these two little beauties. They're exactly the same, and I've cut some out in white. So I've got 6 tiny little blossoms in there that I'm going to be using. So that just leaves me with a couple of pieces to cut at this time. And this one is well, it's a lovely frame. It makes a beautiful layer with lots of little blossoms on the side. And then this one is a label. And so I'm going to cut that out in white. Now there is a smaller one with the little floral decoratives here. And it struck me that if you wanted to use the smaller one with a layer, you could sort of cut your layer out, the plain one out of your coloured cardstock, and then layer a white piece. So you would sort of have the flowers on sort of to the front, whereas my card here has got the flowers to the back. But it just depends on how much of a greeting that you want. So I'm going to pop that back there so I don't lose it, and clear myself a little bit of space so that I can bring my machine in. So for this, we're going to be using the number 1 base, and then the number 2, which is the it's the adapter for the smaller dies, and then we're going to pop in a clear plate, then our pieces on the top, and then a number 2, 3 plate, clear plate on the top here again. And then we're just gently going to crank that through. Now I like to crank through quite slowly because there's quite a lot of detail on one of those dies, and I want to make sure the blades get an opportunity to cut through my card. So that's that piece. So we've got the plain here, and then we've got the decorative piece. And here, and I'm just going to just do a little bit of a roll with my brush just to loosen up and get those last little bits out. So it doesn't take but a minute. Sometimes if I flick them, they come flying out as well, but these tinier pieces do take an extra little bit of persuasion. So those are my other cut pieces, and while I've got my machine handy, I'm going to do some embossing. No, I'm not. I've got one little bit of stamping more to do. So my other piece of stamping is I'm going to be putting a little greeting down here. So this says thanks for, and then down here, all the wonderful things that you do. So we're just going to get the green. And I want to make sure that I stamp this well to the right hand side, otherwise it'll get caught up underneath the little step piece. Right, now I can do some embossing, and for this I am going to just need the base plate, which is the number 1, and I'm going to be using one of these new embossing folders, and it comes in a packet of 3. If you watch my YouTube live, I think it was on the 26th of February, I actually showcased these 3, and introduce them to you. So I'm going to be using this lovely one, which is kind of a hatch. And in order to make sure it's going the right direction, I need to see my stamping coming through on the same side as my logo there. And you can see I put a little reminder to myself to make sure that I use the right plate. It's the grey one, which is for embossing with these thicker embossing folders. So just going to crank that through. And we'll have our lovely embossed pieces. I hope you can see how beautiful that texture is on there. It really is quite lovely. Okay, so I think we've probably got all the pieces that we need to make a start on assembly. So I am going to take this little piece here. This is with a piece I randomly stamped up, and I'm just going to attach it to this piece of soft sea foam. And this measures 6 by 3, and I've scored it at 4 1/4. And I'm just going to layer this piece on like that. Now, you don't need to remember all of these measurements. If you look below this video, there will be a link to my blog, and it'll take you to exactly the post on this particular card, this video, and you'll be able to get all the information that you need on sizes, on colors, as well as a link to my online store where you can go ahead and purchase the goodies. Now I'm then gonna add a length of double-sided tape to the back of this piece, and I'm just going to try and get it as close to the bottom without it going over the edge, and that's on both ends like this. And just burnish that up a little bit with the... All right, so that's that one piece. And then I've got my card base. Now this is 8 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 1, 2, and 5. So to make sure that we fold it in the same direction, in the right direction, I like to start with my 2 score lines at the top, and I'm going to fold the first one down and burnish, and then I'm going to flip it over, and then the second one up and burnish, flip it over, and then this one comes down. So that what that leaves me with is a mountain, a valley, and a mountain fold, like that. Then we can attach this piece here in that center panel. There we go. And then this little strip is going to go across here, because that is the bit that will be visible at the front. This bit is kind of in the background, and so we don't need to worry about putting anything there. And then I'm just going to add this strip. And I'm just rubbing this on the back to just distribute the adhesive. I don't want to do it on this front panel because it might smoosh down my lovely texture there. All right. Now we're going to do pull a little bit of our decorative pieces together. Now I'm putting a greeting on here of thanks for. It's one of these that's in the set. So there's your thanks and then for. And in order to get everything sort of lined up and in the right place, I decided that I would put my pieces, my stamps on my Stamparatus, and I cut a little guide. Just going to pop that in like that. And I do have videos out there on using the Stamparatus, and this technique that I'm using now, you will be able to pick up on. So now I have waylaid my, where did that go? Well, I had my flirty flamingo not but a few moments ago. Well, this is annoying. There it is. I tidied it away. So I'm just going to pop some ink on my stamps and just hold that down firmly there. Bring over and press firmly. I haven't got quite such a good finish on that, so I'm going to go back with my ink and start again. Add a little bit more colour there. That's much better. So now on my card I will have thanks for all the wonderful things you do. Now this next bit is really fun. This piece that we cut from soft sea foam actually has like little flaps or little bits that you're going to poke your card through. So you're just going to line up. I found I didn't need to use any adhesive at all to keep this in. So I'm just going to line up those pieces like that and then just gently bend this so that it will tuck under the cut on the other side. And then I just found that I just could use my thumbs and my fingers to just straighten that up like that. Isn't that pretty? Really beautiful. Makes the entire card on my as far as I'm concerned. So I got my little flowers that I cut earlier, and I got a little old piece of foam, and I'm gonna cup these just to give them a little bit more life, as I like to call it. So there we are. Oh, fiddly. Like that. And I've got my pick your tool, and I've got the little cap on the end here, and I can just push that into the foam and I get some really pretty little blossoms. Tiny little bit of adhesive on the back of my hand. Now if you are allergic to, please don't do this. You can always pop your adhesive on a stamping block or a silicone mat, but I know I'm okay with this, so I'm not going to break out because of this. Tiny little drop more. But I find that there's more control using the back of your hand or using a little dot on a block, acrylic block or something, than trying to squeeze it out of the little bottle. I found that sometimes it would just rush out and you've got a huge pool of the stuff that you've got to deal with. So I'm going to set that aside for a few moments, and then I'm going to colour up some pearls. Now, I don't know if you have used this technique before, but I'm using my Stampin' Blends, and I'm going to use the bullet end, and I'm just going to colour up some pearls. Now, you can use an ordinary stamping marker, and that's what I'm doing here. Either will work. So I'm just gonna finish colouring up 6, and they only take a few moments to dry, but I'm just going to set them aside like that. And you see, I got some really pretty colours. You can see how different it is from the other ones I haven't coloured up. So we're going to set that to one side and finish off our card. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to attach this piece here, and I'm going to line up this side with the edge of that white piece, and I'm going to line up the bottom with the bottom of my Pear Pizzazz piece. And so I'm just going to take my tape back a little, and I found it best if you did it while the card is sort of folded rather than when it's flat. So I've got that lined up there, I've got that lined up to the bottom, and now I can just press firmly and pull that, and then I'm just going to go to the back and really press that firmly down to activate the adhesive. So that's our one piece, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure the card is folded up. Then we're going to flip over, and I'm going to take this piece, and just along the fold, we're going to fold it down there, and then use that to really hold it firmly into place. And there's our faux step, side step. And then I can just add this back piece that I stamped. And that will then kind of cover up what I call sort of the mechanics. So you haven't got that, all of that bit on the back showing. And then you've got somewhere to write your greeting. And then we're just down to our final decorative pieces. So I'm going to position this so that it's kind of half on this piece and half in fresh air. When it's opened up, it'll be flapping in the fresh air. So I'm going to put some dimensionals down. I'm going to use the mini ones. I don't need a lot. I think I'm just going to put 3. And just position it so that it looks its absolute best. This is where we can go and pop the now beautifully coloured pearls in the centre. And then when I was designing the card and looking at the dies that are in the set, I wanted to use that lovely stem here, this lovely stem die. And I was looking for all sorts of ways to kind of put it. And in the end, I decided that if I just got a pair of scissors and did a little bit of trimming. So I got rid of the stem here and I just kind of cut it in line with the leaf. And then I cut this piece down here, following the curve of the leaf like that. And then I've got two pieces. Now this piece is too long. I don't need all of that. But either with a glue dot, or in my case, I'm going to do a tiny little dot of liquid. I'm going to fill a little bit of my empty space like that. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a stem. And then I'm going to have this piece. Now I want this piece to go out into the fresh air here to fill the gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay my card on the envelope, because I don't want it to go outside the footprint of the envelope. Otherwise it will get squished up when it goes in. So I'm just going to slide that kind of in like that and just have that fill that gap. And there we have our faux side step. You can change it up a little bit if you happen to have a happy birthday. Oh, I can see I didn't do my final flourish. My final flourish is one of these beautiful dragonfly trinkets. And I'm just going to pop that on with a glue dot and have him flying in as if he was headed for those flowers. So I did have do a birthday one. Now there isn't a birthday greeting in the stamp set I used, so I did use another stamp set for that. But I did use this dear friend for the bottom, which is in the stamp set here, and to create the same card but for a different occasion. Well, I do hope that you have enjoyed this fun fold with me. I've certainly enjoyed sharing it. If you have enjoyed, perhaps you'll give me a thumbs up. If you don't already subscribe, I would really love it if you would do that. And if you have any comments, please put them below. I'd love to read them. And if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them. Well, thank you for joining me today. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye for now.